Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, your host as always, Andrew O'Hara. It's been a great week as always. I hope everyone is doing amazing out there. Good morning, good afternoon. If you're a night owl, love it. Samesies, like twinsies right there. I don't know. A lot has happened this week. It's been very busy in the world of like Apple rumors. It's hard to keep up with a lot of these iPhone 17 ones that keep spilling. I mean, I've got all the dummy units. I think is this even? No, that's a real phone. I can't even keep track of. This one's a dummy unit. I'm holding these up in the video, but the 17 looks like the 16. I do have like the slim. We've talked about all these before, but there's been the crazy stuff with like cases coming out this week that are maybe real, maybe probably not. More details on battery. They'll cover it all, right, on the Apple Insider podcast, so you guys can go check that out. But just in general, it's hard to keep up when not focusing specifically on the smart home stuff, right? I'm doing videos and shorts on all the regular Apple news, and it's been a lot. It really has been a lot. I also went and visited my grandmother this week. We took over, both the kids. Like we see her regularly, but my great aunt also came down. So like she was coming down to see Ellie for the first time. So like my grandma gets some more FaceTime with her, and then my great aunt gets to meet her. So it was going to be like fun. So we spent like half a day over there. But during our visit, the conversation inevitably got turned to TVs as my grandma was trying to get everything hooked back up to her TV when she got a new like cabinet installed. And that just posed so many problems of trying to get everything kind of working correctly again. And apparently TV is going to be the theme this week because I have a really cool hands-on to share with you guys at the end of the episode. But between talking to my grandmother and my great aunt, it just seems like everybody, no matter who you are, hates like just the streaming networks and the cable companies. Both of them have Spectrum, and they could not have more bad things to say about Spectrum, which totally get. Also same, right? It's pretty terrible, but there's no other choices. That's only choices they have. And then I got into trying to explain to my great aunt, because I can't help myself. No, she doesn't need to have Spectrum for TV. She could go with one of the streaming options. She's like, but I still would need Spectrum for those things, right? No, you would not. You would just need the internet, which apparently she's getting through AT&T. I don't even know, folks, but as I was showing her Apple TV, it was confusing because she didn't understand the difference between Apple TV plus the streaming service, the Apple TV app, and like an Apple TV box. And I was like this is what I do, is explaining these things simply. And I still found myself like struggling to make a coherent story about why you don't need Spectrum. You can just use apps and an Apple TV. And she said she was using some sort of, Spectrum box to access things like Netflix, and it was so slow. Like not even like the streaming of the things, but just opening the apps and using the keyboard. She said it was just horrible. I'm like, well, that's one of the reasons why I love Apple TV, because it's so easy to use and so fast. Long story long, I guess. Everybody hates cable companies. And somehow in 2025, there's still no good solution. Everyone makes the same joke of we're going in a big cycle. We killed cable for 800 different streaming apps, and now they're bundling all the streaming apps. I guess that is a little bit of news that Hulu is going away and being fully merged into the Disney Plus app, which we all knew was coming ever since Disney completed the acquisition of Hulu and completely owned it before it was split between several different media companies, including Fox. So after Disney bought Fox, still a little bit was owned, I want to say, by Comcast. And ever since they fully bought out Comcast on Hulu, it was only a matter of time before Disney went into Hulu or Hulu went into Disney. I would have preferred it, Disney going into Hulu, because I think Hulu is a better app, but who knows? I don't know if the Hulu brand will stick around or if everything's just going to be branded Disney Plus content. We'll have to see. But yeah, it's all not great. Anyway, great show for you guys today, so let's go ahead and get into it. First up, apparently I'm just going to rant for the first half of this episode. Apple TV remotes, if they do not have a actual Find My tracking stuff in the new model, I'm going to lose my mind, right? Between Faith and Harrison, those Apple TV remotes get lost like no other. So Faith was in our room, she was doing laundry, so we just have laundry on the bed. And I swear it was right there. She picked it up, and then like an hour later come back, and, hey, where's the remote? I have no idea. It was gone. And I used like the tracking that is built into the remote app, because that's of course where that lives, to try to find it. And it's like, yep, it's definitely here. And I could not find it for the life of me. I ended up having to take like all the sheets off the bed, and I still could not find it. And it turns out it had navigated all the way to the top and then went down underneath the bed. So the remote was like saying, like just pointing me into the middle of the bed, but it wasn't in like the crack on the bed. I don't know. But if it just made a noise, or if I would have had UWB to get a little bit more precise, other than it's definitely in the center of your room, I feel like I could have found it. So this has been constantly frustrating to find that thing. I have told you guys before that I use that leather Nomad cover with an AirTag compartment in our living room, which works really great. I actually find that one so much faster. I even use like my HomePod to say, find the remote, and it finds the AirTag and makes a ring for me. Great, super useful. Unfortunately, Nomad discontinued its leather, Apple remote cover. There's a bunch of like crappy silicone ones you can find online, but I hate the silicone ones. They're like sticky and attract dog hair and lint like no other. There's a few different options. There's hard shell ones too, but the leather one was so nice. So I clearly the sales weren't there for something that was fairly expensive, but yeah. I had that specifically broken out in my notes that I wanted to complain to all of you because you all would be the ones that would empathize with me. I know we've talked about it before, but just what's a little venting between friends. Okay, so actual news for the week. Sonos has two big headlines that are going on, both broken by Chris Welch over at Bloomberg, formerly The Verge. Chris has always had some great stories on Sonos. What's going on the inside? He broke my heart when he said that the streaming box was being discontinued, all of that. So two things that are going on with Sonos, neither that are great for consumers. First up, there is a limited number of Sonos Roams, specifically the first edition, it seems, that have some fire safety issues. Now, again, it does seem very, very limited. This is not a widespread issue by any means, and there is no recall, at least not now, on the speakers. So just keep that in mind. But apparently, in certain situations, they're plugged in. They can, I think when they're plugged in, but can overheat around the charging port. So Sonos reached back out to Bloomberg with a comment. This is what they say. We've closely tracked a limited number of reports involving the USB-C charging connection on some first-generation Sonos Roam speakers. While the overall incident rate is very low and environmental conditions appear to play a role, we've taken several proactive steps to even further reduce the likelihood of this issue, including software updates and hardware improvements. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. So first, again, it is first generation Sonos Roam speakers. Those are the small ones. They're a little bit triangular. They can fit like a cup holder or anything like that, but you take them with you, Bluetooth speaker, but they also work over AirPlay. Fantastic. I actually love the Roam speakers quite a bit. Like smaller version of the Move, but they're really good. So very, very low number of those issues. Started with like a Reddit post last week saying my Sonos Roam caught fire, but it is good that it's not like a lot of them, I guess, but it would still give me a little bit of concern. So it is also good to see that Sonos has made some changes. Though what is interesting is here they say there are hardware changes too. I'm not sure what that means. So first it says software changes. Obviously they're saying that there's environmental factors here, so it's probably like these things are being charged while in the sun, and in these certain situations could cause that to overheat. So my recommendation in general, if you have a first generation Sonos Roam, don't charge it while in the sun. That'd probably be my general recommendation, just to play things safe. Beyond that, though, what hardware changes would need to be made? Because the first generation Roam has been discontinued, replaced with a new model. But as far as I have heard, there really haven't been any reports on the second generation models. But maybe there has, which has caused this hardware change from Sonos. I don't know. Either way, it sounds like they've already taken steps to address this with that software update. probably doing something like limiting charging when the temperatures are getting high. Obviously, electronics can monitor their temperature, so if something was going on there, they're probably just playing it safe, pulling things back, slowing down charging, or stopping it altogether when those charging speeds or when the charging temperatures get higher. So should largely be nothing to worry about. If you have second generation Roam, should be fine. If you have the first generation Roam, maybe keep it a little bit cooler. Don't charge it while in the sun. We've had some brutal heat over the last several weeks now, likely could be causing playing into that a little bit. But either way, not great. I'm glad the newer models are not really affected. Then the second thing from Sonos is price increases. They have announced that there's going to be a series of price increases happening sometime in 2025. Though what is even less helpful is that Sonos does not say which products will be impacted. Now, they have, of course, a huge range of products from accessories to the speakers to sound bars, even the headphones. I have my Ace sitting here on the desk because I love the Sonos Ace. But most of their products are coming out of Vietnam and Malaysia, which are being hit with some pretty substantial tariffs. Vietnam has tariffs of 20%, while Malaysia is sitting at 19% now. And if we actually look at the previous numbers, Sonos had 2.1 million in tariffs for Q3 of 2025, and that is expected to go up to 5 million for Q4. But those numbers, those projections and those previous numbers were actually from the older 10% tariff rate. So those tariffs have essentially doubled. So we could be looking at like 10 million in tariff related costs for Q4. It's quite a bit. So because of that, Sonos is having to raise some prices. We don't know what products. We don't know when. I hate the scare tactics of like, hey, prices could be going up, so you better buy your stuff now. But I feel like that is very real here. It kind of goes for a lot of things. Like I'm preemptively buying Coke before the aluminum stuff takes effect, and cans of pop are more expensive. So this might be similar to that. So if there is a Sonos product you've had your eye on, you've been waffling a little bit, not sure, it may be worth it to pick it up. I mean, if we're looking at any jump in price here, like if they're going up, a few percentage points on some of Sonos's high-end stuff, it could be a substantial chunk of change. We're not talking about like Nintendo raised prices like $5 on like their controllers. Well, they're 95 to 100, like something like that. These, I think, will be bigger price increases for higher end products. So just keep that in mind. If you're on the fence about buying something Sonos, perhaps do it sooner rather than later before those price increases hit effect. And as soon as we do see anything, I'll be sure to let you guys know on that week's episode of the podcast. Might be a few days late considering we drop once a week, but it's the best I can do unless you're following me on socials. Okay, next piece of news, Ultraloq Bolt, the one with HomeKey, has now been released. We saw this at CES, and now it is out. So this is not Matter or Thread. It is specifically its own thing, working with the Ultraloq app as well as through the Apple Home app, because it does support Apple Home as well as HomeKey. So it has the NFC support. You can tap your Apple Watch, your iPhone to authenticate. You can use fobs or the Android app with NFC too. It's, of course, just not HomeKey through those ones. They do claim up to a year of battery life, which I think is not likely. They say up to a year, which already means it's probably going to be less than that, but I find rarely do locks get their promised time on them, and I kind of change them preemptively, so that way I don't have some situation where I'm relying on them. Like if I'm going out of town or something, I do change them more frequently than that. You can monitor through the Ultraloq app, but I don't think you would get a full year out of them, but perhaps you will. It just seems suspicious to me without actual Thread on board, but maybe they've got some good magic coming into play. And they do have their automatic unlock as you approach, so this monitors your location through the Ultraloq app. When it detects that you've arrived back home, it's going to go ahead and open a Bluetooth low energy connection to the lock. When it detects you approaching, it's going to head and authenticate and unlock the lock for you. As we've talked about on the show, including with Gen 2, those things are not always 100%. I have not tested it here with the Ultraloq, so I don't want to bash this lock, but I can say that the location combined with Bluetooth is not as reliable as I would want it to be for the automatic unlocking. That's what I can say about it. They do have the version with UWB coming out, or it is out. I'm not sure. It's not the Aliro version, with Matter, but it does have that. And I tested that at CES, and that is very, very cool. So I think that would be more reliable than this one. But hey, you still have HomeKey. I never use that automatic unlock with Bluetooth Low Energy. I leave that off, walk up, just use HomeKey and get in that way. Things faster, much more reliable. I would go with that. Price isn't bad. We're looking at $199. Put a link in the show notes if anyone's interested in picking one up. Okay, we have more locks to talk about, some other stuff going on. Dreame has a whole bunch of new products, and I have one of my favorite hands-on or reviews that will be dropping at the end of this episode. Before we do that, though, let's take a break and thank our sponsor. So you guys have been on this journey with me, this health journey for choosing Function to do a whole battery of health tests on me. Now, I am one who is not going to fearmonger. Like, I've never been one to sit on WebMD and well, based on my lump, I definitely have cancer. Like, I'm not one of those people. So I do not overly fret about health stuff, but what I do like are metrics. I love stats and I love metrics, and I love to know and understand things. It's not just seeing a stat, it's understanding the meaning behind those stats. And especially in the health space, it seems really hard to get that. First off, it seems just hard to get lab tests and medical tests done. If you're trying to go into the doctor and then ask for something, if they feel that you don't need it or they don't want to do it, you're not going to get it, and you have to go to a second doctor. But even getting into the doctor in the first place can take forever. My wife, just to see her PCP, it literally took until they were months out to get her in for a non-emergency, non-sick appointment. And it's ridiculous. It's so bad these days. So immediately I was interested in Function because it's giving you the power back, right? There's over 2,000 locations that you can go and get these lab tests done. I got mine scheduled within a day or something of signing up. It was so fast. I just walked in, got my lab test done, came out. You do 2 days of lab tests there, as long as they're within 2-week period. Boom, done, out. So you guys have been on this journey from the time that I signed up with it and just learned about it to getting my lab test done and for results to start to trickle in. And as I shared with you back when I started this, is after you get the results, you would then get clinician notes that can give you even more insight and an actual breakdown into your results. And I got them. And I think this is amazingly cool. So I'm not going to go through all of my notes here because frankly, they're incredibly verbose. They're insane. So just to hit the highlights again, there's 160 or so different biomarkers that Function can test for. So you get all these different results back, and they break them all down into the different categories like electrolytes, environmental toxins, and heart things, and immune regulation, kidney function, liver function, and all these ones. And then you can pick into any of them, and then it gives you your reading for it, and it tells you if you're in range, above, below, whatever it should be, and then it gives you actual why it matters, what your results mean. Is this good? Is this bad? What it means, why it could be elevated, why it could be low. All of those different things, and what could mean for your actual health. Am I feeling sluggish? Am I feeling tired? Whatever it is, it will break it down for you in plain English. That to me is amazingly cool. That drew me to this, is they take these numbers that you can get yourself within a couple days basically, and then tell you what they mean. So in these clinician notes that I got now, an actual doctor has gone through all of my results and then given me kind of a breakdown. And for each of these, they give me more breakdowns. For each of the actual immune regulation, there's a whole clinician note here. But the overall breakdown was super helpful. And they compiled different ones together. Hey, have you started to feel kind of tired recently? Because these 4 different factors could be playing into that. And that was one of the things that I was really interested to see how it would play out with Function, because I have been really tired, and maybe it's because I'm getting old. Have I hit the part where I'm an old person now? Or maybe it's because we just had our second kid and there's times where she's going to wake up throughout the night and we've been really busy. We're going into iPhone season, so I've been working a whole bunch extra. So it could be any of these different factors. And it's hard to kind of keep on top of them. But actually looking, it's hey, these things are really low. Your iron is really low. All these different metrics that it was tracking, hey, all of these together could really be causing you extra fatigue, light of headness, all these different things that you have been experiencing. I have. And one thing that I really like about this is huge for me. Function isn't trying to sell me things. Like, it's not trying to sell me supplements. What I was a little bit worried about was it's going to give me the results and it's like, there you go, take our vitamin. We'll give you a pack that's made for you, which is like kind of cool, but also feels a little bit like cringy at the same time. They're going to try to sell me these supplements after telling me that I need them. I don't know about that. But now I was able to find literally a vitamin that matched my actual needs from this doctor that is looking at all of these blood tests that I did. So I'm pretty stoked. I'm going to try a new vitamin that is literally specifically tailored to the thing. Like the ones that I needed are not even in your normal multivitamins. So I'm going to try this one that meets a lot of the stuff that this doctor was telling me based on my test results. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. I feel like I have more control over my health with this. So if you guys find this as geeky, as nerdy, as interesting, and potentially helpful as I do, give it a shot yourself. You can learn more and join using my link. Visit functionhealth.com/HomeKit. There's a link for it in the show notes. Now, speaking of things that seem to be failing on you, besides my body, I'm kidding. My health was very good. I was very happy with my results. But that was my attempt at a segue into the next part of the show, which is the new, or not new, but the Raegle smart lock. So Alex wrote in about this, one of our listeners, and the thing here with this is, I had never heard of the smart lock before, but it does support Apple Home. And apparently people found out when they went into the app that the app or the lock was being discontinued. And it was kind of scary because the messaging that Raegle is putting out just says like the lock will no longer function. Well, that's not, great to hear, especially for a purchase that people made that could be $100, $200, $300, $400, or more in some kind of situations. I'm not sure what the Raegle lock cost when it came to market, but I would not want my smart lock to stop working. We have seen so many different brands that have shuttered. We've seen Wemo get out of it. We've seen Logitech get out of it. We've seen Insignia brand from Best Buy get out of it. Like, none of these are in existence anymore. They've just gone away. Their apps are no longer supported. The devices are no longer getting updated. And for anyone who is using it through those manufacturer apps, they're kind of SOL. So fortunately, based on my understanding, these Raegle locks are going to continue to function when you're using them with Apple Home. Because part of the promise of Apple Home is that you don't have to rely on the manufacturer or the manufacturer apps for literally anything. You can set it up entirely through the Apple Home app and be happy and use that product. You may get additional features, you may get your software updates, things like that when you download the manufacturer app. For a lot of the car products, like, there's extra little features that you can get that you don't get like natively in Apple Home. Eve is another great one. They have like energy monitoring. You don't see that energy monitoring being tracked inside of the Home app, but you can see it going through the Eve app. But basically, like, firmware updates can even now be done through the Home app. Many products, especially simple ones you set up, you should not need to download a manufacturer app if you do not want to. So these should still work through Apple Home for the continuous feature. That said, it has been a crazy time for smart locks. We just talked about the new one from Ultraloq, the Ultraloq Bolt that just came out. We've seen many others that have launched, and I guarantee there's going to be more coming out through the rest of this year. So stay tuned, but maybe this is an excuse to buy a new one. Personally, I keep waiting for an actual Aliro one. I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if we're going to start to see actual Aliro ones kind of being announced at CES next year. It could be like spring launch, perhaps. I don't know. I know nothing extra about nothing that I can't even share. Like, I know nothing under embargo either. So hopefully we see something coming out of somewhere in the near future on Aliro and UWB locks, because that's what I would like to upgrade to. From what I have now, I use like the Level Lock Plus, I think. I would love if there was a new ultra wideband lock that I could try out, but the only really UWB one is like the Ultraloq, and it doesn't even support Aliro and Apple Home and stuff. So we'll have to see, but it's a bummer to see any smart home company shutting down. Well, Dreame is not shutting down. They have announced 11 new products. This is crazy. So we've got Eve coming up, which comes out at the beginning of September, end of August, beginning of September. We're kind of getting really close to the Apple launch there, the presumed Apple launch for the iPhone 17 series. But Dreame is apparently out with a whole bunch of stuff now, and I'm not even getting into most of it. So there's some personal products. There's like hair dryers and curling iron type stuff. Those are out there. There's stick vacs that are out there. There's wet dry vacs that are out there. But there's also, I think, like 5 robotic vacuum cleaners. Most of them seem like pretty iterative updates, but the one that is probably the most interesting, their flagship product, is the Matrix 10 Ultra. Matrix 10 Ultra. And this has a spinning mops on the bottom. It's got like 30,000 pascals of suction, which is pretty darn high. Probably one of the highest, if not the highest, that I have seen. But what's unique here is that it is the first one that can switch mops. Right? Switching mops. What it does, there's like, I can't even describe it, but inside of the docking station, it's got the standard multi-purpose docking station with like dirty water, clean water, the dustbin, cleans everything. But inside of it, like in the front of it, it will hold 3 sets of spinning mops. So from what I found online, there is a stronger scraping mop. So you got like sticky residue, you spilled some honey, maybe you got like salt on the floor or like dry dirt, something like that that needs more like scraping to clean up. It has nylon threads, and it can also, I don't know, that one's good. So then the second one has, that has the 40 degree Celsius mopping. This is even confusing. So yeah, the scraping one also gets hot. That's the purpose there. The second one is a thicker one that does not heat up, and it is intended for absorption. So spills. So your kid spills milk or apple juice or a Capri Sun, you can send this out and it will see that mess and it will soak it up with the appropriate mop. And then the last one is the regular warm mopping pad used for like everyday cleaning. So we got all that. It has a regular mop that you can use all the time for your normal daily stuff. But if there's a really sticky spill, it's going to switch to a scraping one to scrub better. And if it detects a whole bunch of liquid, it's going to grab the high absorption mop and pick up the liquid with that one. So just automatically switches between these 3 mops. I don't know how much I've seen this like being a use case for me, but it's still really interesting. It's still definitely a unique innovation here. I just don't know how, to me, it's interesting how high this price is going to be based on that feature. Because I don't know I'm going to pay that much for that one thing. Like I would pay quite a bit for like the heated drying of the mopping pads because that can prevent bacteria buildup and smells. Like that's all great. But switching mopping pads, I don't know. I don't know how much it is needed. I feel like the biggest thing is like the downward pressure is the most useful thing. And a lot of mops have been doing better with that on more recent versions. So we will have to see, but that is the coolest one, I think, of the other ones that are all pretty similar to what we've seen before in the market from them, including some rolling ones and spinning ones. So those are all out. Release announced. I haven't seen anything on Matter support for these. Dreame has supported Matter on other ones, or at least promise support on them. So if these don't have Matter out of the box, I'm sure they will eventually, though not super promising there. Okay, let's wrap this thing up with a review, a hands-on review. We got a new smart home product that I am insanely excited for. And as far as I know, it is the only one like it in the world that I have seen. If you have seen like the title of the episode, you probably know what I'm talking about. But we got a Sonagi fully outdoor TV that works natively in Apple Home and with AirPlay. Let's talk about it. So I love being outside, and we have tried a whole bunch of different things outside. I've tried like the LG Stand By Me Go, which works really well. It's like in a briefcase, you can move it around. We've taken that outside to watch things, but you're looking at a smaller screen, like 32 inches. It's not huge, so if you have a lot of people or in your yard or anything, it's okay. I've also tried like projectors, and projectors work great. I've gotten like screens, we put them up in the backyard. They're really cool as long as it's dim enough. Unfortunately, even with like my most expensive projector that I have bought, that's like $1,500 or something, it's still hard to use outside in any degree of sunlight. It's just hard. So I have always wanted an outdoor TV going back to my high school years of taking care of like my parents' friends' pool. I did like some pool cleaning for a while, and he had an outdoor TV that he put by his hot tub. And I just love the idea of being able to hang out outside and have on like an Ohio State game, a baseball game, a Browns game, just like something like that. I just think it is so fun to be able to hang out outside and do that instead of being stuck inside. I even see like TV shows, right? Everyone's hanging out outside, and there's like four dads all hanging out like inside by the TV because there's like the last few minutes of a football game. Like, take it outside. Like, I just want to be able to do that and experience it outside, let alone movies. And that's actually one of the ways we tested this out last week. My nephew came over, and him and Harrison watched a movie outside. Faith had an amazing setup. She went above and beyond for these kids. She got them little blow up pools that she filled with blankets, and they could like sit in the pools, and they were all like comfy little couches that they could use to sit in and watch the movie. She made popcorn and candy and ice cream and all this crazy stuff for them to sit outside and watch this movie. The temperature was perfect. It was just getting a little bit cool, but they still had like blankets, but still warm out. They watched the Minecraft movie, of course, of all the movies that they wanted to pick right now, and they freaking loved it. But I've been testing the TV a bunch since then, playing around with it, getting into HomeKit, all of that stuff. And it's amazing. I love the use cases for this TV. Let's talk about the specs. So the brand is Sonagi, Sonagi, I believe. Sunagi. Either way, it is a brand of like outdoor TV, weatherproofed TVs. The TV itself is based around LG, so it has an LG panel as well as running LG's WebOS 22. I cannot find an exact LG counterpart. Part of me thought like they were buying LG TVs en masse and then just like removing the housing and then putting their own housing on the outside and then selling them, which is fine. I have no problems with that whatsoever. I was just curious at what the original LG model was. I cannot find anything on the market that matches, even from the last couple years, the exact specs on this TV. So my guess is they are specifically partnering with LG to produce like the internal components between the WebOS and the actual panel, and then they are simply making the housing for it. Still nothing wrong with that. They're very upfront about that. It is like LG panel, that it is LG WebOS, and the weatherproofing is done by Sonagi. So there's nothing like shady going on with that. It's fully on the up and up. They advertise like LG WebOS and Apple Home like right on the box itself. The one I have is a 65-inch. There's like a 55-inch version, a 65-inch version, I think a 70, and they even have like an 85-inch they can do like on custom order, which is crazy. That would be huge. But 65 inches is plenty. It is more than enough. Now, where we live, it is basically a wind tunnel. And my biggest thing when I was picking this out was how we're going to deal with like storing this outside. Like, I've seen like press pictures where they put it on like a stand, like a tripod situation. Like, well, that's going to get knocked over. So what do I do with this? I looked about, where I could mount it on the wall. And even then, like, it would be under our deck, kind of where I could put it on the wall. And I wouldn't want it that far back because it's going to be too far away from where we all spend time outside of that. So eventually I'm like, I want to put it on these poles, like the posts that are holding up our deck, like they're, beefy 4x4s that are going into the ground. And the problem with that was like, okay, if I just mount it on there, I'm still worried about wind coming from behind and blowing the TV around. At 65 inches, it is not small. So I ended up actually making a frame for it. I've made a really nice wooden box. I'm going to stain it to match the deck, but it's basically like a wooden back panel with additional supports going up to the bottom of the deck, as well as being attached to the 4x4. Then it has like a frame bezel going around the outside that I just think makes it look nice and more part of the actual deck, like it's built in. And the TV itself can come out, it can tilt, it can move around, all that stuff, so we can adjust the angle. It does have anti-glare finish on the outside. The body of it is fully aluminum, and it's matte black aluminum, so it's going to be very rugged and sturdy. It has a fully covered cabinetry in the back where the cables go. So there's like 3 HDMI and everything else that you would expect for a TV like this. And there's like 3 thumb screws that close this door that has a rubber gasket all around. All the cords route down. That way, of course, no water can seep up, because that would be the only way for water to get in if it like hit a cord and like trickle down into the inside where those are connecting. But if you route the cables down, you'll be good. Just close it up, tighten all the thumb screws. No water is going to be getting in at all. fully waterproof. It is in LED, so they say direct lit LED TV, but it's got an incredible 1000 nits of brightness, which is what I was struggling to find. Like, I could not find any LG 1000 nit LED TVs. Like, they were going to mini LED or OLEDs, anything like that, to get like the higher brightness on them. So I don't know if they were doing something special with just regular LED to get the brightness that high, or if it is mini LED, which is still like LED, but Sonagi isn't like advertising it correctly or converting it or translating it to their spec sheet. I don't know, whatever it is, but it is very bright. So between the anti-glare screen and the brightness, it worked great. It has been crazy, crazy hot, crazy sunny, and I've had no issues watching that TV. It just looks fantastic. And combined with the fact that I can just tilt it a little bit if I need to, like, you get that little bit of haze sometimes on like an anti-glare finish, so I can just tilt it a little bit and it's not even a problem. So fully sold on that. Temperature wise, this can withstand crazy temperature from negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Seems plenty. And then it has operating temperatures of 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so freezing, all the way up to 104. Still really, really hot. So great temperature coverage on this thing. And again, water, wind, dust, everything else proof as you would need it to be. Incredibly cool. Now, because it is based off of LG's WebOS, that does make it HomeKit or Apple Home compatible. It also has native AirPlay support built into it. So you can just connect this thing to your Wi-Fi and immediately start mirroring things from your iPhone all the way up to the TV. Alternatively, you can use Apple Home. When you add it to Apple Home, I literally went to the Apple Home app. I hit the plus button, chose the TV, and as soon as I did that, the Apple Home code appeared on the TV. I scanned it, went through the setup process, boom. Good to go. You basically add it to the Apple Home app, you get on and off support, as well as changing the inputs, and you can open up the settings menu. You can't control the settings, but you can tap it and it will open the settings on the TV for you. You can name the inputs, so you can move between them. You can use your voice, say, hey, change the patio TV to the Apple TV input or to the PlayStation input, whatever it happens to be. Because it's running WebOS, it does have a bunch of smart apps built in, which is good and bad. I think WebOS is okay. So WebOS is actually based on PalmOS, which is funny to see it grown up into a TV interface. And I've used LG TVs in the past. I ultimately end up having problems with them, but I never had problems with the Apple Home or the HomeKit support. It always worked really, really well. So you can bake this into scenes. Like, we can go outside and say, it's movie night outside, and you have that as the scene name, which can turn on the overhead lights outside, like our string lights, to 5%, and turn off the spotlight and turn on the TV. You could do all those things at once, and turn off the outdoor light switch that we have on the sconces that are out there. So it could do something like that pretty easily. I just think I don't know. I wish you could do a little bit more. I wish you could control the TV, moving up and down in volume and some more things like that. But it really seems limited to on and off, as well as changing inputs. And I feel like I still want to connect an Apple TV to it. So I'm going to have to find a way to weatherproof an Apple TV to put it outside, some sort of weatherproof box to put an Apple TV in, because WebOS is while it's good, it's not great by any means. Now, it comes with two different remotes, and I can show them to you if you're watching the video version. You're going to see my really poofed up hair today because the humidity is crazy. But you basically get a version of the LG Magic Remote. So this is the motion tracking remote. It looks identical, but it has the Sonagi name. Oh, Sonagi. There's the correct spelling. I thought maybe sun because outside, and I second guessed myself, but I was right the first time. Sonagi. So this, you point at the TV, move it around to select things, right? And then the second version is this, which is a fully custom kind of remote. It looks like a bit of an off-the-shelf component, but it is a weatherproof remote. So fully sealed, all this flat surface, kind of the bubbles on the front, and the bottom has a screw and a twist to put your batteries in. It runs on 2 AAA, and those are included in the box as well, and the AA's for the Magic Remote. So you can keep this outside perpetually, use this as a regular remote, but then you can also use this one if you keep it inside and just bring it out when you need to. I just, again, really like this TV. There is no other outdoor weatherproof TV that works in Apple Home and I'm so excited for it. You know, Guardians, we've had a 5-game winning streak that was finally broken by the White Sox, but whatever. But watching baseball outside, watching football outside, watching movies at night outside, I am all about this. I am so excited by it. I think it is incredible. I think the prices are a bit high. I mean, if you look at a somewhat comparable LG TV, you're looking at probably like $1,500 from what I've been able to more or less suss out. And something like this is going to cost you basically double. It's going to be around like $3,000 or something, depending on the size of the one that you get. And that is for sure expensive. And if you are not someone who spends a lot of time outside, it is beyond reasonable. Like, you would never do something like that. I know my brother even got away. He had this Google TV that I got back in high school. He had it just outside underneath an overhang for years, and it still worked. Somehow withstanding temperature, humidity, and everything like that, just because it had a roof over top of it. So, on one hand, you might be able to buy like a $400 65-inch regular LG TV and put it underneath an awning on your porch and get away with it. On the other hand, if you have a big open patio, you have no covering at all, something like this is going to be the best that you're going to do. Fully weatherproof, anti-glare, and crazy 1,000 nits of brightness. It looks great. It looks amazing. And being able to like I don't even have to grab the remote. I can just walk up this area and be like, hey, turn off the patio TV. And it does it. Some of those things are things that like feel magical that I love about the smart home. Is this ridiculous? Yeah, it is. But it's incredibly cool and the stuff that I love. So if you guys geek about Apple TV and media and the smart home stuff, maybe you guys will be as interested in it as I am. So I can put a link for it as well in the show notes if anyone wants to check it out for the rest of the fall football season, grilling season, anything like that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments of this video. If you're watching the YouTube version, you can also let me know any of your guys' thoughts. You can rate to me at andrew@appleinsider.com. You can also let me know on Twitter at andrew_OSU. I'm also on like Threads, Blue Sky, like all the other social media platforms. You can find me there and let me know your thoughts about any of this stuff or what you want to see on future episodes of the show. Please go ahead and give this podcast a 5, 10, 100-star rating on your podcast player of choice. You can also watch the video version of this over at youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. Otherwise, I'll see you guys all in the next episode.